programmingandpython.com. I'm back with another video. Here in this video I'm going to tell you how to print the pattern of letter P. In the previous videos I've told you how to print the patterns up to letter O. I'll link all those previous video playlists in the description below, and also I'll comment it in the comment box, and you can also find them in the I button in the right corner of this video. So make sure to click that I button for the previous videos on patterns up to letter O. So let's start with pattern of letter P. So guys, this is the pattern I'm going to print, the pattern of letter P. Let's see how we can print this pattern now. Let's assume this size as, let me write 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this is a 5 by 5 square. So now let's assume the size as S, and that is equal to 5. So as usual in all the previous videos, if you follow, we have to write some conditions where we can print stars and where we can print spaces. So if you see here, these are the conditions where we need stars. That is first column. This is first row. We will call this as rows, and these as columns. These are called columns and these are called rows. So first row, and also in the first column, and in the middle row, and also in the last column, but only up to half. So these are the conditions. So let me write those conditions now. So initially, as usual, we'll take two loops. For R means rows, for R in range of S, for C in range of S, C means columns. We took two for loops, one for rows and one for columns. So now I'll write conditions for printing these stars. So if you see, the first condition is simple. If this is first column, if C equal to 0, that is one condition. And if this is the first row, if R equal to 0, and here there is one more condition, that here we have an empty space. If I just keep R equal to 0, then it will print stars up to this. Even this fifth index is also, even this fifth column will be also filled. So to exclude that, I will write condition R equal to 0 and column not equal to S minus 1. That means this is the last column. Because this is the last column, that is S is the size, so S minus 1 will be the last, because 5 minus 1, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, something like that. You can actually, the size is 6 here. If you take size as 6, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 6. Similarly, we took C not equal to S minus 1. So this first column and first row is completed. Next, I'll write the middle row. So for middle row, row should be equal to S by 2. And also in the middle row, we need to exclude this exclude this part. So for that also, write column not equal to S minus 1, same condition. So now we have wrote three conditions. One for first column, this one is for first row, and this one is for middle row. And we have one more condition for printing this last column. So that column equal to S minus 1, that is the last column. And also row, we are not printing the last column completely. So that's all, we only printing till half. So I'll write column equal to last column, and row should be less than S by 2. Row should be less than half. So with those conditions, it will only print up till here, and it will execute all the remaining part, that is the other half. So these are the four conditions. I'll group this. So these are the conditions: first column, first row, middle row, and last column. So in all these conditions, I'll print stars. I also give AND as space here, because if I don't give AND as space, by default print takes AND as new line, that is /n. So if it will print this star and will go to the next line, we don't want that. I'll give either star, I'll give either space or empty, so that it will stay there. And in else condition, I'll print spaces. So we have these are 4 conditions for printing stars, and the else is for spaces. And finally, after printing the first iteration, we need to go to the next slide. In that case, we'll print an empty print after this first for. I'll print an empty print, so then it will complete this iteration and go to the next line. So that's it, guys. That's how you print this pattern P. The important thing here is to write conditions where we can print stars and where we can print spaces and forming this column. So this is one condition, C equal to 0 for first column. This is for first row. This is for middle column, and this is for last column. So these are the 4 conditions to remember. So now that's it for the explanation. So now I'll go into my PyCharm IDE, code the same, execute it, and see the output. So I'm in my PyCharm IDE, guys. So let us see how we can print this program. I have just explained you in the whiteboard. So I'll do the same here in my PyCharm IDE. So first let me take the size. As I said, I'll ask the size from the user. Size equal to input, enter a size, and I will also cast this to integer. So I'll use int here around this input statement so that it will take only integers, and I'll do a small check here, like I'll check whether the size is greater than 8 or not. If it's not greater than 8, I will ask the user to enter a number which is greater than 8. It's just for the display purpose. If the letter is small, I mean if the size is small, the letter looks a bit smaller, it doesn't look good. So just for the display output purpose, I'm checking this condition. It's not mandatory. Enter a size minimum of 8, and in else I'll just print the condition, print the pattern which we want. I'll define a function called print pattern, and I need to pass this size here. I'll pass this size here. So I'll copy this function and I need to define that. So I'll write def, and I'll just call this parameter as n. The n is the one which we passed here, the size. Based upon this size, we'll loop the letter. And here, as I said in the program, we'll have 2 for loops, one for these rows and one for columns. So I'll write them. For row in range, the range here is the size of the letter. For column in range is also n. So we have written loops for rows and columns, and now here I need to print stars and spaces based upon the conditions. As you see, this is the first row and this is the middle row. So in these 2 rows, I need to print stars, and in the first column and in the last column up to half, I need to print stars. So let me add the conditions for that. If the first condition would be row equal to 0, and you see there's also a condition, the row completely is not equal to 0. There is also a condition where we excluded this last one, where here there will be space. Here also there will be space in this column and also in the first row. So we'll write conditions for that also. So row should be equal to 0, and column should not be equal to the last column, that is n-1, and column should not be equal to the first column, that is column equal to 0. So this is the condition for first row, and or I'll write, or the other condition is I'll print the middle row equal to n by 2, or the other condition would be this. And also here there is a condition that it should not be equal to last column, row equal to n by 2, and column should not be equal to the last column, that is n-1. So I'll group these 2 conditions into one condition. and I'll write or here for another condition, that is for printing this first column and last column, or here the column equal to 0, that is one condition, and or there is another condition like column equal to n minus 1, and there is also another condition for the last column that should only print up till half, and row should be less than or equal to n by 2. Here I'm doing floor division so that it can accept even numbers and odd numbers perfectly. And then that is it. That's all the conditions where we can print stars. So I'll remove this line here, and here in this print stars and equal to, I'll give and as empty, and in else I'll print spaces. I also give and as empty here, and also after the first for I need to give an empty print so that it goes to the next line. So this is the pattern which I have just discussed in the whiteboard. So let me run and see. Run pattern P, enter a size, I'll give size of 8. You see we have missed the upper column, we have missed some conditions here while printing this first row. Let me see what is that. Here the column should not be equal to 0. I have missed the condition here. Here the column should not be equal to 0. I have given equal to 0. That is the change. Now I'm running this again. Let us see what will happen now. I'll give size of 8. See, the pattern P is printed, but it missed some conditions. Like for first, let me give an end as space. It would be a bit expanded and looks clean. Okay, but we missed this these stars and these stars. We don't want to print this, but they are printing. Let me see what went wrong there. First column, the column, okay, first column has just given the condition column equal to 0, but there are some other conditions like row should not be equal to this row should not be equal to the first row, and row should not be equal to the last row. So I have missed that conditions while printing this this column for this first column. So while printing this first column, I have not given any conditions. So while printing this first column, I should also see that row should not be equal to 0. So write one more conditions like and row not equal to 0. So I have given the conditions, and for the last condition, column equal to n minus 1, and row is greater than half. I have given only those conditions, but missed. I have given only those conditions, but I have missed the other conditions to print here stars to exclude stars from here and here. So column equal to n minus 1 and row less than equal to n by 2. So it will print up to that, and here the row should not be equal to the half, and the row should not be equal to the first one. I have to give another 2 conditions here, and this condition would be enough here. Let me run this again and see. You see it came, this is fine, but here in the middle row we did something in the middle row. Actually, let me format this and we will write some comment which one is for the first row, which one is for the last row, which one is for the middle row, and all. So I have formatted, this is the first row, this is the middle row, and this for the first column also I have made some conditions. This is the last column. So row greater than by 2, and I have also given condition that row not equal to 0, and in the middle row equal to half, and column should not be equal to n minus 1. So I written this condition here. So now let us run this. It should we should see as expected. You can see this is as expected. If I give a bigger number, you'll see it clearly. This is reasonable, see, but I don't think we need to exclude a space from here. I think this star can also be covered. Like we don't need to see like this. Even this also looks. Even this type of P also looks reasonable for me. We only need to exclude spaces, exclude stars from here and here, I think. So I'll remove that condition maybe. and column should not be equal to 0. This is the condition I need to remove. So let me run this now. Yeah, that's okay. I'll just give a bigger one. You see, that's the reason why I have asked to enter size greater than 8. If you see, if we go with bigger numbers, the letter looks more reasonable. This is a P. So if you see with 8, you see this, there are two things, and this looks bigger and this looks smaller. So that's the reason I have asked for bigger letters, bigger numbers. So if I go for 15, you see a more reasonable looking P. So this is how you print this pattern of letter P.